My philosophy is basically this.
Hi, my name is Leo Barber, and you are listening to the Vitals and Virtues podcast, where we focus on the pursuit of a virtuous life from the perspective of a nurse. Join me as I take in classical wisdom from the saints, philosophers, and scripture, and distill it for practical application that you can take with you on your way into your shift. Be sure to keep an eye out for special editions where I interview healthcare professionals from various specialties to help us learn and grow to be the best people and providers we can be.
Look, you're not our most traditional guy, but clearly something you are doing is right.
All right. We are not live because we're not going to do that. But here we are with Chris Andrews.
Hello, good sir.
The man, the myth, the legend.
The Honorable Leo Barber.
I don't know how honorable that is. So we just did our vital signs. I'm not going to have to edit this back in. Both of us are hypertensive. Basically, we both should probably see our primary doctors or get one.
My primary is well aware of the situation.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think...
I'm medicated at least.
I'm not medicated at all. But anywho, you want to call out your vitals?
Oh, I am, 160 over 100?
Mm-hmm.
Was at the time 123 because I was hoofing my own chair through the yard.
Yeah, sorry.
Because your chairs have a weight limit, and I'm a large American.
I'm a small guy, so they fit for like small Americans, but those are rare and hard to, usually they're considered like children.
I just want to go on the record by saying that I think roller coasters should allow for larger sized people these days because I miss the days of being able to ride a roller coaster. Anyway, vitals.
Yep. You were 98%, which
98%, which is
not
good
on
for
oxygen.
For a COPDer. Having just smoked, proud of that. A little tacky at 103, I think was the last reading, so I'll go with that one.
Yeah, we're 103. Like, he settled down.
Right. Got my French press coffee.
That's right.
So.
Yeah, and I have my blood pressure is 178. Sorry,
no, I was going to say no, it is not.
I had to outdo him. No, 148 over 78, and my pulse was 81. Oxygen was 97% on room air.
On room air.
Yeah, I think we're just.
We could blame the wood heat.
I know what it is. We're just so excited about this podcast.
Yeah, that's what it is. We're metabolizing.
That's right. We're just keeping, if our pulse rate stays up, like this will be like an exercise opportunity too.
Oh no, I've got 2 cups of coffee currently, so if we keep at this rate, it's only going to get worse from here.
Yeah, the bathroom's upstairs if anything hits you. Grab the Jameson up there. We're going to get started with that.
Gladly.
Yeah, so...
It's not the reason I came here, but... I heard there was going to be Jameson, and I was surprised to see that it was Jameson Black Barrel.
What do you mean surprised?
Well, not surprised, but
pleased, happy.
Pleased, happily
good.
pleased.
I'm glad that's.
Have you had the Jameson Stout, the Caskmates? I believe it was. It's very very darker.
Yeah.
Very much oakier, and it had that almost that creaminess that a stout adds to your beer.
Sounds pretty good.
I enjoyed it.
All right, crack that lid, and I'll let you pour us some. Well, I don't know. We do an ad from our sponsors.
Are we officially sponsored by Jameson?
No, I was just gonna edit out and insert crickets or something.
I know a few people that would love to sponsor the show.
Oh yeah, send them my way, man. But. So we have I have a boatload of questions, which is basically what we do around here. Kind of the main one is, do you need a knife there? You got your teeth?
I've got it.
You got it. All right.
Dentist dream.
Oh, good. So lots and lots of questions. I really want to know, so I have heard some rumors, you are the man, the myth, the legend.
Just some.
To me, you'll always be a legend. All right, tell me you're really struggling there, man.
Dude, give me the knife. I'm telling you. Thank you.
All right. Your button over there is still green, right? Other side.
Yes,
All
it
right,
is
good.
green.
If it turns red, that means it's all over and the self-destruct button happens. If you cut yourself, I do know a nurse and a EMT are nearby.
What county are we in currently?
Hey, man, one of the greatest counties known to the state of Virginia.
That's right. I'm not worried.
That's right.
I've got good squad mates.
Indeed.
All right, we are officially into the Jameson.
No, we're not into it. You finally got the child safety wrapper off.
And I haven't closed the knife yet, so there's still chance for complete and utter disaster.
There we go. All right. So now we can.
Wait, want to get that?
There we go.
That was going to make for a good sound.
It was. So you're. I don't want a whole lot. Maybe 2 fingers.
2 fingers.
Your fingers are bigger than mine, so
That's
like
why I enjoy
one and a
being
half
bigger
of yours.
man. I think that's a good start.
Seems good. Seems good to me.
And I'll do about the same.
You do what you want, man.
Daddy duty starts as soon as I leave here again.
You're always on the clock, man.
That's right. If not at one place, it's the next.
That is correct.
So,
Oh, cheers, my good man.
cheers. Thank you for having me. It's an absolute honor to be here.
Oh, yeah,
It's
man.
kind of awkward talking about myself and
Everybody
things
hates
of
it.
that,
I've tried to-
virtuous things. Like, I'm not very schooled on that, but I try my best
Hey,
to
man,
sound like a
we're all in the pursuit of heroic virtue.
to virtue. Yeah, that's a good way to start.
Yeah, that's a smooth one. It's like that's a dangerous drink.
You gotta know your limits.
Yeah, I mean temperance is a virtue. I got a little thing up there.
I know. I was trying to school myself on it before
Just
I came.
brush up on some knowledge.
Yeah,
there.
some virtuous things. I even had to make sure I was schooled on some pre-hospital stuff before you started discussing
Do
anything.
you think this is going to be a test?
I don't know. I'm following Riser, like, which, by the way, for the podcast record, the previous guest on your show is currently one of my favorite ER docs. He's a wealth of knowledge, and like many, I didn't know he was also a toxicologist.
Yeah.
I had heard Ashley, my wife, mention it and talked about work and stuff like that, but I don't think I'd ever really put 2 and 2 together pre-hospitally because we really don't think that far ahead.
Yeah.
So it was nice to kind of hear his standpoint from there. But like I said, man, what a tough act to follow. I'm a lowly street EMT.
Hey, look, man.
With an affinity for Jameson and the finer things.
We got loads and loads of followers, like a whole 20 viewers. So
And hello to all of you.
hey,
I'm honored that you'd want to hear what we had to say.
Yeah, I know. Either somebody bribed you or who knows. But I will say we do have people, like I mentioned to you before. I got people from Germany, Russia,
Canada,
and Australia, which is
yeah.
interesting. So shout out to you people.
That doesn't sound bad at all. But yeah, the people from the land down under.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. What would we do without the internet? We might be more.
I think the world would be a better place.
I think so too.
I think we went a little far. We should
Yeah.
have stopped with MySpace. Back when we could rank friends and really prioritize life.
Dude, talk about a savage world, ranking friends. There were Black Mirror episodes about that.
Yeah, but people had to know where they stood at the time.
Yeah, I suppose. Now everybody just like wonders.
Wait, are you actually old enough to have had a MySpace account?
I could have had a MySpace, but I think my mom was a prudent lady and was like, "This is probably not good for your young mind." I was probably like 14.
That was probably smart. In hindsight.
I would have been like 14. So no.
No, I remember. I think I was about 14 when the internet came out. So I remember getting our first at-home personal computer.
Whoa.
I have a picture of me sitting in front of it because it was gotten for like my birthday or something.
Nice.
And I can still vividly hear the sounds of the dial-up and the.
Oh, dude, I hear the
screeching.
dial-up.
Yeah.
Oh, what a terrible sound.
Still have my AOL discs. I think I'm still current on my membership.
Oh my. Can you remember
We should
your
reach out to
passwords,
AOL for
though?
a sponsorship. Are they still a thing? We'll send out discs.
Yeah, that's right.
That'd be great.
Sign them. timestamp on it. For sure could go in a time capsule. All right, so who is Chris Andrews? We don't need to hear all about you, but at least some. I think a lot of people want to know about you, man. You played football some kind of semi-pro, pro?
It started weird. I had a very overprotective mother. She didn't want me to do anything where I could potentially get hurt, i.e. play football, go in the military, anything that involved the potential of her having to deal with another injured child, because I was one of 5. So I had the opportunity later in life. Well, I'll say later in life, as soon as I graduated and moved away. I went to be an EMT in Campbell County for Alta Vista EMS, and started playing. I had heard in the area there was tryouts for the semi-pro Virginia Crimson Cardinals team. And I was like, well, what a great opportunity to go.
Do they still exist?
I don't know. I know that they were a farm team at the time.
For who?
The Tennessee Titans.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
And the Mountain, the Mountain Empire Warriors, which were absolute beasts to go up against.
Yeah.
They were getting off the bus with Super Bowl rings on their fingers, and they were just NFL players that would retire and go to these farm teams and still hit people because that's what they love to do. And they were really good at it. And I found out I was really mediocre at football. I did that for, I think, 2 or 3 seasons. Like I said, I'm not in the NFL currently, so disclaimer, I didn't go far.
Hey, man.
I had fun, learned a few things, got to establish another sense of camaraderie. Because, like I said, Mom never really wanted me to go into the military, but that was my interest because I was the son of a Navy man. Yeah. And I always wanted to go into the Army to spite him.
You never, what is it, saw The Water Boy? Well, Mama, don't hurt her.
Right. Well, I did make
point.
An honest attempt. I had not signed basically, but I was all set to go to MEPS and everything for the Army. I was going in as a 91 whiskey combat medic. I was set to. That was what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I think it was 4 weeks before I was supposed to go for MEPS. I had a really bad car accident. Yeah. And I I got pretty broke up. Yeah. So I knew at that point it was not going to be an endeavor I could go for at that time. Yeah. So, and in my opinion, that kind of thing, once you wait, if you don't go in with the gusto that you have right out of high school and still fresh, but I was recovering from, like I said, pretty rough injuries. So
what happened?
I was responding to a fire call. I grew up the stepson of the local volunteer fire chief, and I kind of wanted to follow in his footsteps because I thought that was cool. My initial route to go was to be a firefighter and concentrate in arson investigation.
A firefighter,
because it was wicked smart.
I just want to quote
but
the part
I was
a lot right there.
That very same wreck that I was talking about. It broke me up pretty good, and that's what introduced me to the field of EMS. I really was just enamored by the care that I got from.
It was a cute EMT.
No, like it was from not from what I remember. There was not a lot that I can actually recall, but it was like the local assistant fire chief and the couple of squad guys that I didn't know at the time. Yeah. But I was flown on the helicopter to UVA.
Oh, dang.
So I got to see in and out of kind of the cooler side of like waking up in the helicopter was pretty awesome. Went back out pretty quickly after that.
Yeah. But, they're like, hey, this guy's waking up. Get him some more ketamine.
He's aggressive. I get that a lot. Like if I get agitated or just slightly, itchy or something, people are like, he's getting aggressive. Watch him. He's the big guy.
Nobody's ever said that to me.
I know I went in for when I got diagnosed with COPD emergently. I was having an exacerbation of sorts, and I was trying to communicate that I could not get any air, and I was trying to sit up to where the air seemed better, and I was sitting up off the bed, and they're like, he's getting agitated. The next thing I know, I've got Ativan coming my way.
This has happened in a facility that everybody knew.
Everybody knows me. Like, but you know, it's fair. I've gotten it before coming out of anesthesia for back surgery.
Yeah.
I woke up at one point, and I think I still had the nasal airway in.
Ouch.
And yeah, ouch. And so I'm sitting there. I was trying to like get my hand up to my face to like see if it was still there, if it was just hurting. And the act of raising my hand up to my face made one of the nurses go, "He's up. Put him back down." I'm not a lion, people.
Are you sure about that?
I don't know.
Are you
I've
sure
been
about
compared
that?
to a grizzly before, so
yeah, you've got the beard to go, man. I mean, it's much more attractive than like a billy goat. I mean, I think bears aren't really known for having beards,
but just as gruff, you know.
I suppose.
Yeah. But no, going back, I started young in EMS because I thought it was
When you
cool.
say young though, how old were you?
I know I got my first certification at 16. I don't remember whether it was first responder or EMT because I think those are still two separately available certifications. But I started at the first entry level I could at 16. Was certified as an EMT basic at 18. When I graduated high school and moved to Campbell County, I eventually went for my ALS certifications, was a cardiac tech. And I think I held that for, I want to say one certification cycle, which was 4 years at the time. But then my dad, who had the ever growing faith in his son, his only son, that if the medical career didn't work out, I should probably have a backup. And he was a truck driver. So he convinced me that getting my CDL was probably a good thing for a wayward young man, which I was at the time. I think I was 21.
Part of me feels like maybe if you felt like your son was a wayward young man, perhaps not sending him out to places where there's lot lizards everywhere.
Well, see, my father was a man of more. He enjoyed the less virtuous things in life sometimes. Okay. So I think it was
May he rest in peace.
Yeah, may he rest in peace. It was recently his birthday, and I had to raise a glass for him. He enjoyed Smirnoff vodka, but Ashley's the vodka drinker, not me.
Yeah, so. She'd mentioned that. I said, "What's when we get you on? What's your drink?" So we'll have to have a
Are you up to the challenge?
I will.
I've seen her drink.
I don't look. This is Virtues.
Like gas,
okay?
like vodka to me tastes like gasoline, and it's just. She's like, no, this is oceanic vodka made from sugar, and I'm like, it still tastes like gasoline.
Yeah, I don't mind some vodka, but but anyways, we'll get her on. So you've been doing EMS.
EMS.
So you went and you got your advanced.
It was advanced, or back then, it was shock trauma was the level beyond basic, and then it went to cardiac tech, and then it was paramedic.
Okay.
Then there was a transition that I want to say came around 2005 or 6, maybe 7, and was implemented.
Dang, you're ancient.
I know. But the shock trauma went to EMT advanced. The cardiac tech went to EMT intermediate, which was commonly referred to as medic. And then there was the paramedic.
Paragod.
Are we going to get into
which
that
brings
conversation?
us to our point about the
differences between levels.
We don't need to go there. But so you've been doing this a while.
I have. I would say that I was at the top of my career. I got to see and do most things that people would get into the job for.
So where did you stop on the tier? So EMT, advanced, all of these things.
Ultimately, now I would have been an intermediate.
Okay.
Yeah. I never did go to paramedic. The reason I still don't currently have my ALS is I do not enjoy paperwork. I'm well versed enough to help you out to the best of your ability in the back of a unit, and I don't have to do a thing as far as
I don't have
report.
to chart anything.
Right, yeah.
So some vitals, sure. I got you.
You can do your needle stick. That's fine. You can get your IV in. I'll draw your meds up and make sure everything's right, and be there to confirm everything too. And then in the end, I'll take my gloves off and get in the driver's seat and get you to the hospital safely.
That's right. I mean, that CDL is really coming in handy. That's what you were after.
Well, yeah. I mean, I really, that's one of my things I've always enjoyed is driving.
Yeah.
So
you just like, with
yeah.
some lights.
And then I get to break some traffic laws at the same time.
They're not broken if you're like...
Yeah, it's a good way to
so
look
they
at
aren't
it,
broken.
actually.
I hate to burst your bubble, but yeah, if you're an ambulance driver, sorry.
Oh,
sorry to bring you down, man.
Don't. Oh my God, that actually reminds me. Ashley pointed out earlier that a coloring book that I brought home for the boys that had I think it was like a public service coloring book for first responders and the children to do, and it said for police officers, firefighters, and medical helpers. And I'm like, oh. And I
so you're a medical helper?
And I brought this home to my sons.
Oh,
how are they supposed to be proud of their daddy?
I wonder if she brought that home having seen it or not.
No, I brought it home. Oh. Yeah, that was the bad part. I didn't even look. I was like, oh, it's got all the cool people in it, and they're
helpers.
There's no chance they would dog EMS. But I was wrong here. We're medical helpers.
Oh man, that's funny. So all right, I have my own questions. I got a bunch of other ones. I mean, part of it, everybody who isn't medical wants to hear like, what's your craziest EMS story? Like, I mean, heck, you and I have worked some really disastrous ones.
I think that's a really tough question to ask someone that does what we do.
Yeah, we're like, I don't know, it's all terrible. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
The worst days of my memory. I don't want to
the
bring
time
up in
that
jest.
You're like bringing somebody's leg to the rest of them. I don't want to talk about that.
And those questions, I always try to defer to something jovial and lighthearted, involving an animal. Or I'll try to make something up on the spot.
The worst day ever. You were
the
the
worst
driver.
day ever. You're not ready to.
Yeah, if you don't do this, you probably don't want to hear it. And
I'm trying to forget it.
Yeah, I'm trying. Why do you think we have Jameson on this show? No,
we're allowed that vice. It's okay.
Yeah, well, it's only a vice if you use it intemperately. If you're.
That's always a good. I've had that question, and maybe we'll get into that later. What differentiates that?
Yeah, because if you if you drink to the point of drunkenness, this is a problem, because you want to be in charge of your faculties. You want to be able to engage in the people that you're around, and hopefully you're not drinking by yourself alone. That's a sign of a problem. And I don't mean I'm going to have a drink.
I've had a drink by myself before.
Oh, for sure. But when I say a drink, or when I say drinking by yourself, I mean you are drinking with a purpose to black out and go to sleep or something like that. That's where it would be problematic, and it would be unsatisfactory coping.
And I think that's where you would come in as a burnout coach, because that's a problem that needs to be addressed.
What's going on, buddy?
You should come on my podcast.
Oh no, that's. But yeah, that's where there's a fine line. I think everybody knows where you drink to a point where it's this is not a good thing. I don't know if this is actually true, but I want to say St. Thomas Aquinas said something to the effect of drink to the point of hilarity and go no further. So,
I'm real good at that.
Yeah. So in order to be really funny, you still have to be in charge of your faculties. You have to be.
Oh, wit is, I think, a clever man's tool.
It can be, for sure. Yeah.
So it's definitely good to keep that one in check.
Yeah, once you pass that line, you've gone too far. Right. And the trouble with alcohol is once you go too far, you got hours before you're back right. That ship is it is turned over.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to just eat a baked potato and move on.
Although that does always sound good, I think. You
always.
Ask anybody who's had too much
3 a.m. after too much, nothing sounds better than a Wendy's butter and chive potato. Just soak it up.
Yeah, that's in theory. That's what it's doing in there.
At least you're telling yourself that's how it's going to
exactly.
work. I'm sorry, what was your question?
I think we were at, we have all these questions.
It always gets back to the Jameson.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, there are a lot of questions. Let's do the one that we've been trying to find for years in our brief encounters in the ER when you're dropping off patients or
the code card conversation.
That's right. That's right. Now we get to actually have a code card conversation. I say that like pointing to it as if other people can see.
Right.
We're not recording a video, so this is just words, people. But
I also dressed up for the occasion.
He did.
They can't see
looking
it.
fancy.
I'm a sharp dressed man.
That's right. ZZ Top, you got the beard.
I do have the beard. You're the only guy in the band with beard in his name didn't have one.
I didn't even know there was a guy in the band with the name Beard.
Yeah, the drummer's last name, if I'm correct,
Was Beard.
was last name Beard, and he didn't have a beard.
Dude, there's a priest who died
right?
whose last name is Beard, Father Mark Beard. Shout out to this guy. He's dead. Maybe he can pray for us.
Of course.
This guy has got some of the most slap you in the face sermons. It's just they bring me so much joy.
Oh, those are some of my favorites. The ones that really make you go, make you look inward.
Yeah. He's like, hey, quit this dumb crap, which is why I'm a fan of St. Francis de Sales. Like, if you've listened to any of the other episodes that aren't me talking to my friends on a podcast, it's kind of helpful advice. But maybe sometimes we do need that slap in the face or kick in the nuts, whatever gets you going.
I think that's applicable across all gamuts of life. That's the one thing that every human needs is accountability in that reality check. In any way that you can get it, please get that in.
Yeah. Well, this is I think the beauty of, you'd mentioned this earlier, like getting camaraderie in the places that you can find it. I mean, I would assume that in the squad house, like in the house, you guys, there is camaraderie. In any unit that you work in healthcare, in the military, like there is a brotherhood or sisterhood, whatever, that you find there. Like your work family feels like family, like especially when you're there all the time. I think having those people that can slap you in the face, be like, "Hey, quit being an idiot."
Yeah,
like we need that.
I think that's the basis of a good partnership as well in EMS. You're only as good as your partner is.
Yeah.
And hopefully your partner will keep you in check and they feel comfortable enough with you that they can grab you by the chin straps and say, "Hey, look, buckle down. We're in the suck.
Yeah.
No one's coming. It's up to us."
Yeah.
And
yeah, especially, the weather out here is often terrible, and we do not have the option to fly. And as an EMS provider, where like we are in rural Virginia, there's
the wild west of EMS.
Basically, this is what it feels like in everywhere in healthcare. I think right now, based on
especially working out of a community hospital, such as we do. I think that's why there's such a that's why we mesh so well together. Is we see the work that we each put in. We know what each of us are banging out and capable of, and it demands a sort of respect. Yeah. I'm not going to bring you, crap that I don't know what I'm talking about, and we have to establish a sort of relationship based off of that. I've got to prove that, I've done my work.
Yeah.
I'm knowledgeable, and you got to show me the same.
Yeah.
So keeping each other in check is a good thing.
And I think when you work when I worked in bigger facilities, like you did not know which providers, like unless you've worked there for a really long time. But the problem with healthcare nowadays is it's a revolving door. You don't get rewarded for loyalty, so you end up job hopping, unfortunately, in a lot of cases. Now, there's a difference between like finding your niche and like getting to a place where you're going to thrive, where like say I didn't enjoy emergency medicine or working in the ER, and I was like, hey, let me go to like oncology or I don't know, peds, something else. Like that's a different thing. What I'm talking about is like specifically job hopping to get a raise, because that's how it works.
Well, especially, and I of course have seen this in the larger systems, especially within the hospital systems, but it exists pre-hospital, maybe probably even across the entire breadth of healthcare professionals, that your skills are worth something, and you need to be compensated for them. And it's especially working out of a pre-hospital EMS agency that's volunteer based primarily. It's hard to continue to find volunteers that are able to put in the extra time that it takes to maintain your certification. Those folks aren't getting paid.
Yeah.
So they have to do their full-time day-to-day while still maintaining enough grit to care enough about their community and get all their certs maintained, because we have to go through recertifications just like y'all do, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, that's really difficult because, like, I think in a different time, and you've been doing this a long time.
It's not that long.
Okay, sorry.
Like,
you've been doing this a minute.
It was like 23 years. That's not that long.
Okay. So, like, how has that evolved? Because I wonder, like, in my, like, 10 years of working in the ER and the hospital, like, as a supervisor, like 5 years of each or so at this point, people used to be nicer. Even in Lynchburg, like, when I was there, like, yeah, we had some grumpy folks, but, like, the patients just seem mean sometimes. And if you're a
Can you
volunteer,
question if it's universal health care at this point?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
If you are a volunteer and when you go to pick somebody up and it's like for a sniffle or something that's not emergent, like if it's a volunteer, I feel like you're there for like I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're volunteering, you're doing this out of the goodness of your heart for sure, but also because you want to like go out and do something and like save somebody's life, right? That's not really something that's really happening, I feel like, because there's so of every 10 out of every 10
I was
calls,
going to say 9 of 10 calls are your routine. You know, I've got the sniffles, or I stubbed my toe last week and it still feels a little funny, so I should probably go get checked out.
And my belly hurts, but they're eating a bag of chips when you pull in.
Yeah, smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
Really feeling sympathetic to their own cause.
Yeah, you're like, my blood pressure's worse than yours right now, man.
And it hits at the most inopportune time. I was involved on a green level routine transport this morning while a chest pain call came out of cardiac origin. Yeah. So now you're tied up, on this, and you're just screaming inside your own head. I can almost guess who the
patient was.
Oh yeah, you can.
Anyway, oh god.
Yeah.
Oh buddy. Anyways, but I actually had a thought about this. And I don't even know where we are in relation to like actually getting to the real meat and potatoes. But all right, so we have triage nurses, like virtual triage nurses or like phone triage nurses all over the place. What if dispatch had a triage deal where I don't know, maybe they have one. Maybe in some places, I don't know if we do here, but like, we
have a triage system, and I believe that our local emergency communications center is EMD compliant, which is emergency medical dispatch, and they have certified dispatchers that can enact a triaging process, but it's nothing really that goes as far as the hospital level. Anyone that activates 911 and wants to go to the hospital, we are obligated by law to therein transport them without any question.
See, that's where I think, like I said earlier, I don't remember if we were recording or not, but it's a royal we. It's not something that you and I are going to be able to impact on our like day to day. But if we could have a triage system where, hey, you call and you give a triage person a chief complaint, like, hey, this is what's going on, brief little deal. Hey, we're not going to send an EMS provider out for this. But here's a list of resources. Go try this out. Versus what we do now where everybody comes in and it's overloading EMS. I mean, you had a chest pain that you couldn't respond to because you had something that we would call nonsense.
Well, then you have to look at the flip side of the coin. EMS agencies operate under an OMD, a remote physician that signs off on our preemptive operations.
Yeah.
And who's to say that your headache times 3 days isn't an LVO?
Yeah.
That is now a big to do.
Well, for sure. But what if the toe pain, the leg pain?
It could
for
always end up
days?
circling back to someone with altered mental status, and they just think they had toe pain. Like I had a guy call for knee pain. He's hypotensive and tachycardic.
Yeah. So basically, we just have to take somebody at the much higher level than us to say we're willing to eat the potential risks for this, because ultimately we don't have the resources to do what we're doing right now. I think that's what it comes down to. In the hospital, we don't. And from all the guys that I've talked to, seems like y'all are spread pretty thin too, like butter scraped over too much bread. Maybe.
It's, and we're trying.
Oh, everybody's trying.
Everybody's trying.
But why do we have so many people? I mean, y'all, maybe your agency, we'll edit that out. Right. So you guys have done a pretty decent job, at least where I've seen, where it seems that it's not quite so much a revolving door, but some places are. And
I would say revolving door, but a large portion of who my agency sees as providers are entry-level college students in the area that will, get that interest in EMS, get their cert, and as soon as they graduate college or, they have a changing life event, they move from the area. And so I won't say that it's a negative thing per se, but there are ever growing opportunities within EMS that I'm just going to start looking for myself, because I don't know how much longer I have on a box, because retirement at 65 on an ambulance looks bleak. I don't know if I'm ready to wait that long to be on an ambulance.
That is difficult. Well, how do you, you've been doing this for 23 years.
Well, off and on. The years that I spent trucking, I think it was like, say 7 to 10 that I spent trucking. I was gone, for 2 to 3 months at a time, but wherever home was established at the time, whenever I had home time, I had always tried to set up a volunteer organization that I ran with, so to maintain my CEs, and stuff like that. By the way, are we getting CEs for this podcast?
No, sorry, it has not been approved.
Coming up for research, and I could really use the CEs.
Yeah, sorry, not yet. We have not gotten approval yet.
We had Riser on. I feel like it was learned conversation.
It was.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Very
this
informative.
is.
This is antics and comic relief.
Which is what a lot of people need, for sure. But hey, this is something that I wanted to try to get to, because at what point do you say, hanging up the hat on something, I have peaked? Or that's the conversation. This is the question we've been wanting to have for years.
So for the listeners, back when Leo was trying to recruit me for life coaching.
That was not what I was doing. I was trying to get some insight.
Yeah, I think he was trying to tell me I needed some help. But
hey man, we all get
some
pretty
direction
crusty sometimes.
But so what was the question again?
All right, so you had asked at what point can I say, all right, cool, I have peaked at this, and
because
I can.
Your thing was you could always work harder to do better, to do that next the next step, and always work to. I don't know what your point was.
Essentially, basically being goal oriented. There's always going to be some
and then
moving forward.
I think I just kind of looked at you and I'm one of the few that I think I've gotten it all down. I've traveled. I've become I wouldn't say cultured, but I've opened my borders. I came from a very closed mind. I was born and raised in Prince Edward County. Left and came back twice. I loved the place, but I had to become my own person, learn who I was, travel, and see that all the things that I was taught weren't so bad after all.
Yeah.
And I think I encourage that for everyone. If you can travel, if you are ever afforded the ability and the opportunity, please broaden your horizons, get out there and see what other people are living like. It's not just you, it's bigger than you.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of my main. That's why I've always liked driving. I always woke up in a different city. I've seen thunderstorms be born, on the flat plains of Laredo, Texas, and I've been housed by Mexican immigrant workers in the fields of Salinas, California, strawberry fields. It was.
You're going for the soundbite big time here.
I have these cool experiences that I'm good with. I don't know how much better it can get. I've married the most awesome woman in the world. I have two of the most picturesque kids.
There's some pretty cute kids.
I mean, they rival yours for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
but,
for sure.
Man, like I'm okay. Like I don't. At one point, I feel like it would be almost greedy to want more.
Well, I think it's the difference in what it is that we're wanting in the more category. Because, like, you don't want to do the traveling so much anymore, it sounds. But there's...
I don't know. You give me my own agenda, because I lived on that tight time constraint while traveling through these awesome places.
But what I mean, like, you're not like, oh, I need to do this for my own fulfillment. It'd be more like, I want to share the experience with the people that I love, like your kids and your wife.
Sure.
So more like that, and it stops being about you or me anymore.
Right. Your focus tends to shift from, okay, what am I doing for me? What can I do for the ones that I love or the people directly involved in my life? Yeah.
So how do you improve your circle of influence? As especially as fathers and husbands,
and building a legacy too. I think that thought recently crossed my mind of what am I leaving?
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of a heathen to be on this podcast, if I'm being honest. But I lived my early years as someone who didn't think about what I was giving to someone else.
Yeah.
Like that was my responsibility. That was my problem to deal with.
Well, I think a lot of people
and that's why I think
that way.
the vitals part of this podcast, you and I know I've had my own health concerns, but you do have to be concerned with your current health state. Mm-hmm. You have to be concerned with the people that would miss you.
Yeah.
Should you ever, and I think that's something that we can look at from every end of the spectrum. People will miss you if you don't take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest part of being a dad was now I knew that I was loved as a husband. Mm-hmm. But once you become a father, you feel it.
Yeah.
And it becomes a different responsibility. It's like, okay, now I have to make sure I'm here. Like I'm not just doing this for me anymore.
And I think the big thing is like when I got married, like I had the same mindset. It was like, well, to some degree I still have it. Like God gave me my family. If he calls me out of this world, he's going to take care of my family. And I have extraordinary confidence in that. However, I still, while I'm here, it is my responsibility to take care of the family that he gave me. And it's really difficult to do that if I can't physically take care of them or, mentally or emotionally.
Sure.
And all those things like play into this and spiritually as well. We, as fathers, we have this big, big job to fill. And that's like the end of where this thought process has gotten at this point.
Well, I will ask you this out of curiosity. Do you still feel in this current time period that it is the husband's, the father's job and duty to guide the family towards a more godly existence, or can that be a shared task among spouses? Is it something you can guide your wife to, getting back on the better path and so on and so forth, keep you in check? Because sometimes I find myself relying more on Ashley when I know that traditionally it's the man's role to lead spiritually.
Well, so I recently listened to a podcast where there's a ton of statistics out there, and I couldn't give you the numbers off the top of my head, but it's astounding the number of families who the dad is like the spiritual father in the home. Like he's the one leading, like, hey, we're going to church. We're praying now. Those families stay like the incidents of like divorce and like within the kids, like the incidents of divorce, suicide, like premarital sex, like a whole like litany of things that are at a decreased risk for your family if the father is the one who is spiritually leading the home. And now people get really upset about the verse in the Bible. I want to say it's like Ephesians. I'm like the best paraphraser of scripture.
Cliff notes.
That's right. I know it was in there. It was probably Jesus or St. Paul who said it.
What color was the text? I think in...
If it was black, it was probably St. Paul or... No, anyways. But basically, like the text that everybody gets up in arms about is like, wives, be submissive to your husbands, and men's submit yourself to the. I'm gonna butcher it. Anyways,
it's okay.
If men are leading, what is it that the woman's role is? Like, our society has manipulated this to no end to make it sound like it's some sort of disturbed, misogynistic, awful world. It's like, no. I think every woman wants her husband to be the strong leader of the home.
They definitely want you to choose what's for dinner.
100%.
Yeah, like that's. Ashley tells me, I don't want to make any decisions. You do it.
Yeah,
I think that could be.
That should be like a baseline. Like if your wife wants you to pick dinner, she probably also wants you to lead the home spiritually. Probably.
Yeah, I think that would be another burden you could take off.
That's right.
Just out of the kindness of your own heart.
Yeah, I'm no good with quoting scripture, statistics, or anything like that. But I know some stuff. Like Jordan Peterson talks about this stuff as well. I'm just great at.
Now we're getting into it. I'm a big Peterson fan.
I know.
Yeah. I know that's controversial, and I hate to hear it, but man, he's got so many good talking points.
He does. But to your the question of is it appropriate, or have we changed so much where the woman can be the spiritual leader in the home? Maybe is it another way to word your question? I don't think we have, because I think we were created a certain way. God gave Adam all of these things, and you could argue, well, my worldview is different, and I don't think that this Adam and Eve story is real. Whatever. I double down and be like, hey, look, you're just wrong, okay?
Right.
But we've been created a certain way, and God has established a certain order of things. And when we refuse to accept the order that God has set forth, like the creator of something, say you built your child a toy and it was made to you built him a motorcycle, but he decided he was going to use.
That's a good analogy.
He was going to try to use it as a boat.
You're messing it up.
You're messing it up.
You're messing it up. It's not supposed to be used like that.
Exactly. You can see the squirminess. Like, this has happened.
But the Play-Doh colors mixing together. Oh man.
No, don't do that.
Oh, that's my biggest thing.
Now it's just brown. Darn it.
Yeah.
But when the father gives the child something and it doesn't get used to its proper end, then you see disorder, and you see something that, God draws straight with crooked line. God draws straights with crooked. Oh my gosh. I'm just so excited.
This is great.
God draws straight with crooked lines. Like I'm a great example of this. But we can, if we go back to where we, the origins, how it was that we were made, and recognize we're body soul composites. God created us all with this inborn desire towards the good. If we can kind of let go of our ego and our pride and say, hey, maybe I do need to pick up this cross and carry it, and whatever that looks like in your area of the world.
Personal world, yeah.
Yeah, because everybody has different struggles,
right.
100%. But as a dad, I think we have to be that leader in the home, whether, in kind of all areas of life. This does not mean in an authoritarian way where I set down the law, you better obey it or else.
Right.
Tell me you got family problems without telling me you got family problems.
We're not 14th century.
Yeah.
Currently.
I don't know when century that would have ever worked, but
right.
But the support of the spouse, if I say to my wife, hey, Lexi, we're gonna start praying or reading the Bible at this hour of the day, or whatever the thing is, if we do that and I don't have her support on it, it doesn't really happen.
Work. Yeah.
It is really difficult, and it's frustrating. But if I come to this hey, I think we should do this bit of prayer as a family this time of day because it helps settle everybody down, and this is going to be good for us. If she can see the beauty in whatever it is that you're bringing to the table, it stops being a submissive thing so much as it is this is supporting the mission that we have.
A guidance.
Yeah, because it's not like a me against you thing. This is a mission thing. Where are we headed?
We had this mutual union where it said that I would agree to lead you in the right direction, and please have the faith in me to, help take you there, and I, be on the same journey, and just have the ultimately same destination kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, and you could probably speak to this too. If your wife has got your back on something, you could move the world.
I
You could have ripped down a building.
My wife is my biggest fan, and I don't deserve it, but man, she's
good, man.
She's an awesome supporter, and having that kind of foundation to build your marriage on, much less your fatherhood. She's the reason I am able to be a good dad.
Yeah.
So building that up from a spiritual level and beyond is so important.
Yeah.
All right, next question. I got to pour another Jameson. Yeah. You want another? Little finger. I think you got 2 ice cubes, though.
That is fair.
That's a good spot to bring it back on.
Yeah.
You got 2 ice cubes, though.
But I have 2 ice cubes. All right.
So, rapid fire.
I don't know how rapid I can get.
I was going to say, are we tight on time?
Not terribly. We haven't even been going for an hour yet.
Oh, my gosh.
I know, it feels like a long conversation, but a good one.
Good one, yeah. I think we're having a good time.
I mean, people will be like, Leo's a misogynistic jerk.
No.
That's what everyone
I think that was a
like.
very fair-sided conversation. And if you're upset with that, maybe it's you.
He said it, not me. Both of my kids are awake.
That's why I asked, are we okay on time?
Yeah,
you
just got to
go up there.
check. No, I think they're good. All right. Well, I'm all about the pursuit of heroic virtue. This is one for me. If you could have one virtue from up on that board up there.
Oh, gosh. I see patience at the very top. And between patience and kindness, I don't feel like I need a lot of help in the kindness area because I always can put on the face.
Yeah.
I can always display the empathy, but I feel like I could have more help in manifesting it. I don't want to just put on the face. Mm-hmm. I'm kind by nature. I'm kind by career, but I could use a little bit of backing in it because we speak of burnout.
Fortitude, maybe that's what you're after.
The fortitude, is that one of the...
Should be.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you should...
Sorry, the writing is like Old English and
there's
small.
a glare. I'm sorry.
There is a big glare. Sorry.
It's the glaucoma.
We'll get a picture of you, and we'll get you to sign the back of it when we're done. You're totally pulling one out of other podcasters.
But patience, quick story about patience. I've always had a issue with patience.
No kidding.
Yes, surprisingly so. Remember when I was younger, probably about between the ages of 8 and 10, we had a older man come live with us in our home. It was quite a weird situation to me at the time. What it was there was this gentleman named Ray Slifka. He was a retired fire captain from, I want to say it was Baltimore, Maryland, but I couldn't be sure. I just knew it was
Baltimore.
Yeah, looking back on it now, legit firefighter. Like, had some stories probably, but to me, it was just this weird old guy that came and lived in my basement, and I didn't really know why. Come to find out, his home had burned down, and my family had agreed to house him until he got his home built and back in the area. But old Captain Ray C. Slifka would help me with my homework at night, and he was the one responsible for helping me count change. I always had a difficult time in learning how to count change. I'd get so frustrated. Mm-hmm. And he would sit there with me after I'd throw my little hissy fit and gotten frustrated. And I'm not doing it anymore. He would always push everything aside, and he'd go, Chris, you got to have patience. And then he would spell it out really slowly. He said, you got to have patience. P-A-T. And halfway through it, I'm just like, I-N-C-E. It's fine. I get it. You got to have patience. He's like, you don't get it. And it was like, after I learned to sit through him spelling out the word, what it meant to actually have patience and, deal with the situation and the stressors of life a little bit better. You did touch on your reel this morning that your ice bath helps you deal a little bit better with stressors in life. Mm-hmm. I did catch that part. Yeah. I do watch your content.
Wow, thanks. Patience is one. Shout out to Bradley Grinnin. He was actually somebody that helped me get started doing the burnout coaching a lot. Dude is a freaking genius. Also has an amazing beard.
I'd love to see it, by the way, bro.
Check him out. He's a solid guy. But he years ago, I remember talking to him about this. And I was still in the Marine Corps at the time, but I said something about, I just need to be a more patient person. I pray for it. And he's like, he busted out laughing. He's like, you don't pray for patience. Pray for like the ability to handle situations better.
Perseverance?
Yeah. And it was something else too, but basically, like, if you pray for patience, God is going to give you more opportunities.
Oh, he's going to give you the opportunity to practice. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's true. Like, I have found this to be the case.
Absolutely.
And especially since becoming a dad, all day, every day. I'm on paternity leave. Like, I remember hearing people with kids that were older than mine early on when I had our first. Oh, you're going to be ready to go back to work. Well, and I always thought, you jerk. I love my kids. And now, like I love my kids.
I think paternity leave is wasted on the early days of childhood. I think you should really take paternity leave when they're like 2, 3, when you can just be like, yeah, I'm going to stay home and go deal with this for a while.
Yeah. No, well, you don't take paternity leave. It's not for you. It's for your wife or your significant other who just pushed a baby out of her vagina.
How do you really enjoy paternity leave?
You sit in your basement drinking Jameson with a buddy.
And doing podcasts while nap time goes on.
Yeah,
gosh, because I feel like the sense of duty that I have when I go home.
Oh, yeah.
Man, it's I really understand why there's a such thing as a Mother's Day now. You were there when my youngest came into this world.
I did. When your youngest came out into the world, yeah.
I knew then that women and mothers were superior and they deserved that day. Father's Day is questionable.
It's crap.
I enjoy it, but man, we really didn't earn that one as much as they did.
What I think Father's Day should be, and I heard this isn't anything original, like, is the day for you to step up and be the best dad around. Like, give your kids a reason to
I feel like that's Mother's Day.
Give it both. It's both. Trick question.
It's both. Like you gotta you've gotta step up really hard on Mother's Day.
Yeah. Like breakfast in bed, the works. But no, Father's Day. Like, this is the day that it's a big day to celebrate dad.
Celebrate the reason to be the example of being there, to be opportunity of being a father.
Do all of the fun things with your kid. It's not a day for your kids to like worship you. No, this is a day for you to be a man and be the husband and father that you want your kids to remember. Like, if there was a day in the year that you were going to exemplify that, Father's Day should be it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So let's get to some of these questions. There was one other one that I had, darn it, that I forgot.
Yeah, you've been winging it. I'm glad to see you're looking at something now.
It's just scribbles on the page.
You gotta watch me. I'll go off on tangents, and I won't even answer the question.
This show is podcast.
We have answered any legitimate
Probably
question
not. Well,
Riser was so much more put together than this. Like, he had poignant conversation and reference material. I feel like did he hand out a pamphlet?
No. Well, in your defense or his defense, he didn't have Jameson. He had Grand Marnier and some coffee.
I do remember that. Yeah.
So
and the chills
and some beer. We did drink some good beer. It was good.
What'd you have?
Beals. It was the brunch stout. It was delightful.
Not too heavy.
No, it wasn't too heavy. The trouble with beer, I found, is it just feels like bubbly in your stomach. It's like I feel bloated.
I don't keep beer in the house anymore. I've stopped pretending that I enjoy drinking more than like 2 or 3. Like I have to pee a lot. It's the blood pressure medications.
Yeah.
So Jameson, I'll have a glass or 2, and man, that's so much better than downing 8 beers.
Yeah.
And I'll just smoke cigarettes instead. What a horrible decision. But
yeah, we've all got our coping mechanisms, I suppose.
Gotta have something.
Yeah. All right. So first question, I'm gonna hit you with. We actually haven't touched about it, but we've danced around it. How do you combat the pressure and stress of the job and not take calls home with you?
That was maybe a question for my earlier self to better answer, because back then I probably did take more stuff home. But
I think now, if you're not taking it home, what changed?
I'm so maybe that's a good question for a burnout coach. I won't say that anything as far as my empathy dropped off, but I quickly realized what taking calls home could do to your mental status. And it's just not something. It's not a place you want to dwell. Becoming a father definitely helped. It gave you a completely different mindset about the up and coming youth and direction. I've even been thinking recently about, my youngest has wanted to be a EMT or a paramedic, whatever, and it gets you thinking, like, what direction. Going back to the dad on Father's Day, like, am I going to be the best example of this, or can I talk him out of it? It's not too late.
My sister told me this recently, because I went into nursing partly because of the example that was set by my older sister. Shout out to Charlotte Wilmore and my cousin Danielle O'Brien. Like, these two people that my sister's like 4 years older than me, but she had been doing it for a handful of years. Like, I didn't get into nursing till I was in my 20s, somewhere in my 20s.
What's their area of?
Oh, my sister's in. She did home health for a long time and long-term care. And if you listen to this, Charlotte, please put in your 2 weeks.
Hey, I think that those nurses are.
They need a bottle of Jameson.
Wow.
Because, like, depending on
some good stoic conversation.
Yeah. So if you're one of the people that work in those environments, kind of any environment where you feel like you're the only one that gives a crap about the patients, and like you're putting the effort in, and sometimes it's just in your head.
Yeah, not to brag, but I feel like I've got a good continuance of care. I pass off care to a very capable set of practitioners.
Yeah.
I know that I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
When I'm able to say, things didn't go well at all.
Yeah.
But I did everything within protocol, within ethical boundaries, within all of my knowledge and know-how and expertise and experience. I combine it all in one every single call.
Yeah.
I don't need to take anything at home, because I have nothing to take.
Bam.
With me.
Target hit, gunner cease fire. So when you are in a situation where you're feeling burnt out, I think most often it's because you feel like you've left something on the table. Could I have done something better for that patient?
Right.
Did I do everything in my power? And as you said, like protocols and all of these ethical, like all of that. Do you feel like you left something out? And be
open to the possibility that maybe even you, the smartest of all guys and the best practitioner, no, I'm those guys. I work with a great paramedic. Shout out to Jordan.
No, you do have some really awesome paramedics. Prince Edward County has got probably the best paramedics that I've ever had the privilege to work with.
It is a pleasure working with all of them. I love my team.
Dang it! I just spilled the beans. Who you work for? Looks like I won't have to edit that out earlier.
We can't even edit that one out. But it goes back.
You even have your hat on.
Hey, yeah, man. I gotta
represent.
It's not videotaped, but I'm still representing the squad. Not officially, if this gets out.
Does not represent.
Right. The thoughts and opinions of Preserve Rescue. I don't take anything home with me anymore, because I've honed my craft. I'm a little bit cocky now because of it, but it comes from a place of me not wanting to take anything home. I don't leave anything to question.
Yeah. Well, what happens when you take it home? You just end up taking it out on the people that you love and care about the most, which unfortunately...
Oh, gosh, you try not to.
Oh, you try not to, but unfortunately, that's the reality is.
And that's also the beauty of having a spouse that's also involved in one of the same fields, because you can just be like, hey, had this, and... Ashley knows that's something. Okay, give me a few minutes, a few hours to decompress. Take a nap about it.
Yeah, it's something. Especially working 24s, it's like you get home at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, about 8.
Yeah,
then you can't. And gosh, so many times we'll have, a working code right at shift change, and even though I'm
Tell me about it.
dogged tired, you got an adrenaline dump to deal with, bud. Like, you're not going to be able to go home and sleep. You're going to sit there in your bed, and you're going to lay there and think about it, and not necessarily critique yourself, but just relive those intense adrenaline-filled moments to where you're either thinking, man, I'm really good at my job, or
what did I mess up?
What did I mess up? Or did my breath smell okay on that call? I'm always wanting to make sure.
Oh, I don't care. I don't care. Look, I brushed my teeth before I left.
Like, I had good intentions, but there's been coffee involved.
If it's 6 a.m., you're gonna have some coffee breath, okay?
And for me, it's always coffee and cigarettes, and I feel so bad. But
I've never smelled cigarettes.
You're gonna have to deal with it if you want my care, huh?
Never smelled cigarettes on you.
Really?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
And you've given me plenty of hugs when I needed them.
I'm a good hugger.
Hey, let's talk about that too. Is like, we live in a weird world where, there's these two extremes of like, men need to be sharing their emotions all the time and it's great. And then bottle that crap up. Nobody needs to know. Be stoic. You're a man. Like,
that's coming from a jarhead.
This is like, there's two extremes. Now, you, as a man, I think you don't share everything with everybody, but you need to have a battle buddy. And unfortunately,
that's coming more and more into focus. I think that, hey, life's hard, and you need to talk about it, and it's okay to have feelings, and it's okay to lay there and think about the things that you've done, the things that you've seen, the things that you've taken part in.
Good, bad, the ugly. Whether
it's good, bad, the people like us that share the same viewpoints and where things come from, especially within EMS, we see at street level, almost at the moment that it happens, a very raw picture of life.
Dude, I know for a fact because I saw one of your sheets in the newspaper.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate the fact that you were there. I remember, because I don't look at the paper, but like there was a horrific accident that, for whatever reason, like, people talk about coincidence. I think it's divine providence that you guys happened to be in the vehicle behind the one that wrecked, and you pulled a sheet out of the back of your vehicle and put it on the van. Ashley told me about this. I assume that you remember based on your facial expressions, but
that was a rough day.
You weren't even working, man.
I wasn't working. We were just coming off of vacation.
Yeah, I think you came back from camping or something.
Yeah,
beach.
It was. And
two of the clicheest of vacations, camping in the beach.
Camping in the beach.
It's got to be one of them.
Wow, that's so privileged of you. But we were following behind this vehicle that we had been following behind for miles that hadn't been exhibiting any odd behavior. We were just I think we had our cruise control set together.
Right.
We were coming through the famous intersection.
I hate
there.
that road, man.
And I had taken my cruise control off and mentioned to Ashley that we've had so many problems here. Got to pay extra close attention. And remember, my eyes had shifted focus, I think, downward for a half a second. Still keeping my eyes on the road, but like I had blinked in a different direction. By the time I had blinked back to the road, I had blinked back just in time to see this car getting, just plowing into this other car broadside at highway speed. We were close enough to where we could see the result of the impact on the involved persons. We were so close that I would imagine we were probably 50 yards behind, 50 to 75 yards behind. So I immediately pulled over. Ashley got out and went to help the driver that struck the vehicle that pulled out in front of vehicle one. And the driver that I went to care for was obviously deceased. And I think that while dealing with that so fresh, and I hate for that to sound so grotesque, but for it to happen so like right there in the moment, that's the biggest adrenaline dump even I could have.
Yeah. So
having Ashley witness that in the moment, but see, nurses, y'all get them pretty and packaged, and this is, I think, where we can touch on the paramedics or, in a certain way over nurses, but y'all get them pretty and packaged, and we're right there with them.
ICU nurses would never believe that.
Oh, yeah.
We will leave the ICU
yes.
out of this.
Did you even look at this patient before you sent them up here?
Yeah. What's their butt look like? What's their skin look like? Sorry, I haven't had a chance to fondle my patients appropriately.
Exactly. They're,
Yeah, but like when you deal with stuff like this is like the importance of having like men being able to share these. I mean, these are moments that you weren't, like I said, you weren't on call, you weren't working, but you can't overshare with like anybody who doesn't share this experience with, like they're gonna look at you like, what the heck?
Who you gonna call? Like, I'll in the light of mental health awareness, I will share a personal story that I actually had a hard time dealing with.
Ooh. Shouldn't have said ooh there. Also,
no.
You know where we started was like, how do you talk about these things? And you're like, we don't talk about these things, but here we are.
A basement is a good place to start.
It is.
Yeah.
With little Jameson.
But years ago, I was involved with a traffic accident, working a traffic accident where there was a child fatality involved. It was a 4-year-old. I was a new dad, all up in my feels about it. Felt a certain way. Mm-hmm. Fast forward sometime, I'm driving down the road and I see VDOT workers carrying a sheet of plyboard across the median, just like I carried the child on the backboard across the median. And I'm not the type of person that would ever, get up in my feels about an EMS call. Mental health is normally the ones that I feel more over for. But I actually remember having to pull over, called a buddy of mine, and be like, hey, man, I called someone completely outside of EMS, completely outside of my circle of professionals. I was like, hey, man, it's not going to make much sense to you right now. I just need you to tell me everything's okay. I need you to ground me, bring me back down. I said, I'm having a moment. Don't be afraid to realize that not every thought is your own. There are outside influences that do exist. You can rely on your battle buddies for reassurance. And I think more of us should reach out when sometimes our pride and ego can get in the way. It's okay. Right now, if no one else, I've got you.
Yeah.
Like, I'll make time. I don't care what I'm doing. As long as, and it's nice to know that someone has that for you in return.
Yeah.
Because sometimes things are overwhelming. Sometimes we think about things more than we should. Mm-hmm. And that's part of it. That's okay.
Yeah.
Like we are only human.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's heavy stuff. That's
what you brought me here for.
I did bring you this. There have been a few occasions where like I've felt this similar, where I have called like some friends on my way home from shifts and just been like, this was the worst. This is the worst.
This is the worst.
Yeah, we all know
God,
Michael
we should
Scott's
edit
face.
that. And like, if this was a video thing, we should edit that.
I know, if only. But you're like, this was recent. I in the role of the supervisor, I've had to be with the physician when, after all our efforts to resuscitate newborns has not panned out. And the night that you and Ashley were in the ER, in the OR, like, dude, I don't know if I've prayed that much a handful of times in my life. And
I would like to officially say that I am sorry too, by the way. I think, like, in the room as the supervisor, knowing each other, you were trying to.
I was trying so hard.
Lighten the mood.
I don't even know what I said.
I don't know either, but I didn't really go with it at the time.
Oh, I understandably so.
I was so far detached at that
well,
moment.
Well, you had worked a 24, and then you come to the hospital with
and things were going
sour.
Yeah, well, gosh, it was like he would Brady down and never enter the birth canal. And we played that game for, 5 or 6 hours. And then it got to the point where I was like, guys, if you please take him.
Yeah, just get him out.
And it got to the point where I was actually starting to get concerned about Ashley. Ashley had battled for so long.
Oh, yeah. Labor's a freaking labor, man.
And like I said, there's a reason there's a Mother's Day. And I was like, she's on the table. I'm going, I'll never do this to you again.
I remember I remember hearing you say that.
Yeah, 6 weeks later, I got a vasectomy. So, yeah.
You good? Yeah. So we deal with a lot of stuff, like a lot of stuff that you just have to process. And like I had to do this both times that I've had to deliver that news. I've had to do that when I've had my wife had been pregnant like approximately the same time, like a number of weeks as the person who was delivering.
Yeah.
And like to tell somebody like, hey, it was essentially a stillborn child that we did neonatal resuscitation on, and like look a man in the face and tell him that the worst fears of mine have been lived out by you right now.
Yeah.
Like that's a hard.
And it
deal
almost comes with a sense of guilt.
Oh yeah, you're like, why was this not me? But then,
right, like I've had the privilege of having two perfectly healthy, beautiful boys, and to ever be there in the presence, having to give that, hey, sir, I'm so sorry. How do you don't recover from that? You take that with you, and that's not something that's meant to be healed from. You know, it's scar tissue.
Yeah,
that it may harden over time. It never gets easier. And it bleeds just as much as reopening the wound.
Well, the hardest part for me at the time, I mean, the most recent one, my buddy, like the first friend that I've ever made as a nurse, gone through all of the new nurse stuff. We both graduated the same year. We started doing the same stuff, the same place. He had died like a week before, or maybe, no, it was like 2 days before. And I was like, I just got to work my shifts, you know, like we just roll along.
Yep.
And I don't think that everybody wants to be like, oh, this is trauma. Like there's so much trauma, quotation marks, here nowadays. And I think we overemphasize it. Like there's some wounds, but so far as trauma goes, I didn't see it happen with my buddy. I didn't. I mean, maybe you could make the argument for like, you know, when you roll up on scene and you see somebody's leg 20 feet from the vehicle, and then you still have to try to resuscitate somebody to figure out if you're gonna. That's some trauma. You know, I don't want to downplay anybody's stuff, but I think very often we say, well, this was a traumatic experience, and you need all of this, and then we tend to make people victims of a traumatic experience. And it's like, well, if you want to be victorious, it cannot happen unless there's a trial. And if you want to be a victim, play the victim all day long. But if you want to be the victor, you got to play the victor. Like,
yeah, you will have battle scars
for sure, and you're going to be ripped up to shreds working in this industry. Wherever it might be, whether it's EMS or in hospital or
law enforcement,
dude,
or
those guys,
law enforcement.
Hats off to them. But you can't just like, I don't know, weenify everything by saying, well, that's just your trauma and move along. No, if you like, you deal with codes, you deal with people dying all the time. Death is a part of life. You and I know this just as well as any other healthcare provider, but you can either stew about it.
I don't think death readies us for the horrors of reality. Let that be your quote for the evening. Like, for someone who is not involved with the dead or dying as a loved one, you're indirectly interjected into these people's lives.
Oh, I've cried with plenty of families. I'm a sympathetic crier.
Absolutely.
It's unfortunate. I'll be bawling like it was my dad that just died. It's awful.
Right. And that's in the moment when it's so fresh, pre-hospital, you're trying to grasp at that connection, because at that moment you're still trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, what do I do with this person? Right. Also, there's a family member. I can't
imagine emergency like ER medicine's any different. Like, you get an EMS report, but is it really what's going on? Like, you're getting a snapshot of like at a certain moment.
A snapshot of a snapshot of a snapshot.
Right. And I feel like there's, critical traumas thrown upon ER staff just as much as there is. We might have cleaned up the blood a little bit, but
well, some of it just walks in.
They don't. Yes, you don't actually talk about your walk-in critical incidents enough, especially, and it's more prevalent in larger areas, with people dropping off drive-by victims and stuff like that.
Yeah, or the old farmer, man. The old farmer.
Man, how many times? And I don't know how many times you've done it on shift, but there's been quite a few shifts now where I feel like it's starting to become a problem. Y'all are having to pull people out of cars in the ER drive-thru.
Dude, I've done it so many times.
911 is a thing. Activate it. Call an ambulance.
If this is legit, so you know that reel that I made that was like straight to jail. All right, so many people were very bitter about this, but please, if you have a legit emergency, call 911. Yeah. It's that simple.
That we'd be there so fast and be so happy to be doing something legitimate.
Right.
Oh my gosh, like we get to shine.
Yeah,
I'm so happy.
This is my moment.
And that's the thing. So many of my friends outside of EMS have skill sets that are like super manly and beneficial to existence as men. Like they can build great things, they can fix cars, they can do all this stuff, and you see it so often when people are calling them nonstop when their cars break down or they need something built. No one gets to see what I'm good at.
Yeah, what are you good at, Blues Griller?
Blues. Hey, I believe Nate Allen had
He did. All right, so grilling tips.
Grilling tips. Now, see, okay,
where
do you know where he is from? Because I don't want to insult him by saying he's like a northerner or anything.
I looked at. So when he asked that question, I was like, wait. One, he's got it listed as Nathan Allen. Who's that guy?
Who's that guy? Because that's not how he signs his.
Exactly.
But I think it's a HIPAA thing. Yeah, we're gonna go for it with HIPAA.
He's not.
Is he from Georgia? Really?
That's what it said.
Really?
Who knows?
Oh my gosh!
I hope he listens to this. And all of our
he had questions.
Astonishment.
So here we are addressing your question. So I think that my type of, because now barbecuing is such a subject that you can't mess up, because to some people it's something completely different. Barbecue in Texas is different from barbecue in Memphis.
And then barbecue in New York.
And Australian barbecue is different from, for our down under listeners. That's something completely different.
I don't even know what accent
my
you just
my
threw
thing
in there.
is I'm like a steak guy.
Okay.
I'm proficient in giving you the perfect like New York strip.
Okay.
That's my perfect cut of meat.
Okay. All right. So give us your tell us how you make the perfect New York strip.
Oh no, I do enjoy a good dry rub.
Okay. So start out with a dry rub.
Heavy on the black.
Is it a New York strip? Is that what you're going with?
Yeah, New York strip.
Okay, New York strip.
New York strip or a sirloin, strip will work.
Okay.
I think they're of the same tenderness.
So any good steak.
No. See, there's a lot of people that enjoy ribeye for the like the fat content. I'm not one of those guys that enjoy I like a good lean steak.
Okay.
So I tend to stay more with the strips and stuff like that. Ribeyes are a little bit too fatty and gristly for my liking. And I think it may be rough to say on air, but
I think you're good.
Yeah. But I do enjoy a nice medium rare.
Okay. What's your dry rub look like?
Oh my gosh, salt, pepper. That's pretty much it.
So you just like the meat, is essentially.
And
you're like Hank Hill. Taste the meat, not
taste
the
heat.
meat.
Yeah. But see, I think Hank Hill had it wrong because he was a propane guy.
Okay.
Yeah, I like a good wood fire steak.
I really should edit this and put some Hank Hill-isms.
You should. By the way, you gave me a little bit of PTSD with your reel advertising this podcast.
PTSD?
Yeah, because when
that was your trauma.
You remember when the little ambulance came across the screen and the sirens or the tones went off? I was at work when I heard this, and those tones went off, and I immediately almost jumped out of my chair ready to go do whatever it was. So yeah, thank you for that little rush.
You're welcome. A little adrenaline dump for you. Yeah, give us start to finish how you do your steak, and then we'll get to the next question.
I started with the Montreal steak seasoning. Do you ever use that?
Mm-hmm. I think I have some.
So I really liked that was heavy on the cracked black peppercorns and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I really realized that once you start messing with steak, you can really kind of like Hank Hill, just let the meat do the talking for you. And salt, cracked black pepper, kosher salt on high heat.
especially
because you have to do your sear. Like, I don't know how do you take your steaks?
It depends on where I get the steak. So we grew up raising some like grass-fed beef, and my in-laws did some like, grass-fed, probably organic, but I don't know what the whole deal with organic is. And they would
Can you taste the difference?
You can definitely taste the difference between grass-fed and something that is like grain finished. And there's all sorts of stuff that's like, oh, it's not natural, like these things. Look, I know it's not natural, but neither is me drinking cow's milk. Those two things are not natural, but
It's like Kobe beef isn't natural where they feed it the beer.
Yeah, I am at the top of the food chain, so I will enjoy it as I see fit. And I do like a grain-finished beef more than I do like the grass-fed. I dig a grass-fed animal, but I also like a good, like, fatty grain-finished animal.
What's your favorite cut?
Dude, I've got garbage taste buds. Like, it worked out really.
Like you're a flank steak guy.
Dude, they're so good. I mean, like, no, I'll eat anything, but like this is being in the Marine Corps. It was super easy because I can eat.
You could shove in your face hole in less than 30 seconds. You're really good in EMS,
dude. Yeah, you're like, oh, I gotta eat all of this before that guy sat down or whatever. Like, yeah, I don't have a good like, oh, this is my favorite cut. I'll eat pretty much anything. Like,
okay. All right.
But I guess if I were to say like anything that's a fairly lean steak that's probably about an inch thick, I'm good with like that. Let's roll. We'll throw a little. My deal is I'll do some olive oil. I do like to tenderize it a little bit. My dad used to do this thing with like 2 forks and just stab the heck out of it until it looked like
to a steak.
To a steak.
Okay.
Stab the heck out of it. Olive oil rub with salt, pepper, and...
Well, yeah, I guess I know some people do that to also help get the seasonings into the meat.
Yeah, it helps
I know that was more... I've seen it done more with, I guess, hammering out chicken breasts.
Yeah, every now and then I'll do the hammering, but I don't tend to do that with steak so much. But just like salt, pepper, and like garlic powder, and maybe some onion powder, and that's it. Like I don't try to...
When I'm cooking steak, you have to be leery of how much garlic and onion powder you're using.
Okay.
I don't know if you're like me. The other dishes that go with steak are probably going to have a little bit of garlic and onion powder in them as well.
That is something that I have fallen into the trap of having everything taste like garlic.
So you'll have everything with the same flavor profile, and your meal ultimately ends up tasting the same.
Yeah, it's like all of the same food, just different textures.
Right. It's kind of like Taco Bell. Everything there on the menu is the same thing, just folded a different way.
All right. Let's move on to the next question. We probably are running out of time. All right. Thoughts on how an ER can function better with multiple squads coming in and no rooms, especially as it applies to EMS that you run with, but why outlying counties might bring patients that don't receive care. Like, say somebody gets care at a different hospital and, like, they're a train wreck, yet they get brought to our facility.
That's a good question, whoever submitted that one.
Shout out to Megan Wilmer.
Okay, Megan Wilmer, I get your frustrations. EMS is painfully aware of the overloading of the system and why we'll bring someone else there is
It's almost like you've heard that before.
I can't speak for everyone. Everyone's having such a hard time staffing hospitals, beds available. There's so many holds. I'm privy to it just from hearing Ashley and from a supervisory role.
Oh yeah.
Like, how are you going to operate out of a 17-bed ER when you've got 10 mental health holds? You've essentially got a 7-bed ER, as a county or a 5-county ER. You're working out of a 50% reduced capacity.
Over that, most days.
Yeah, over that mostly. And I will speak for us as my agency. We are only able to transport to that one and only facility.
What if say we're on like a
diversion?
Yeah, on diversion, you guys will go elsewhere, right?
No, not our agency.
What if we're on what if we don't have a CT scanner, which has happened?
then I hope it's good weather and we can fly.
But what if we don't?
Then we will make special considerations.
Okay. Because I say this knowing you guys have.
In the event of critical life events, we of course will not delay care and ground transport if we have to a facility of greater capability.
Because this is something that a lot of the ER staff and myself as well, like we're like, EMTALA is like the nearest appropriate facility. I say that with air quotes because, like you said earlier, this is kind of like the Wild West of healthcare these days. Like everybody, like we've got this inverted pyramid where we've got, the healthcare workers at the bottom of it and everyone else on the top that needs care. It's just like, dude, you got to make do with what you got when you got it. It's
triage.
Like,
I just bring them in. You got to triage them.
Yeah, like this. To me, it is very reminiscent of being in the Marine Corps, which I didn't have anything exciting happen to me in the Marine Corps, but like. We got the worst equipment, and you're like, hey, just figure it out.
Military spec is not what you think it is.
Well, it depends on what branch you're in and what your mission is. Because guys with a top priority mission get some good stuff.
Well, that's good to hear.
Guys who are just straight grunts, this stuff's from the Korean War, but it's fine.
And I think they make the best EMS providers.
They might. Yeah, I don't know if there's an answer to Megan's question, honestly, because
we're aware of the problem, Megan, but
we don't have a solution yet.
We don't have a solution yet. Maybe that is something that she could address as her maybe goals for like a 5-year plan. So we'd like to hear your thoughts.
Oh, we'll get Megan on here. All right. So we asked this one earlier. Let's see. How do you keep from burnout in healthcare? I think we kind of touched on that too.
We kind of touched on it. Like I said, try not to take anything home as best you can.
How do you not take it home, though?
Surround yourself with good influences, better people, and an appropriate mindset. Understand your own capabilities. Understand reality. And know, like I said, that you're doing everything that you can and don't leave anything on the table.
Yeah, I think that's it. Leave. It's like what your football coach said back in the day, like leave it all on the gridiron.
Yep.
That way, at the end of the day, I played my heart out, and I can clock out, and it's over. I've gotten pretty good at that myself, and I mean, there are some days that it's almost unavoidable to take something home with you. What I've found on those days is, one, reach out on your drive home. Fortunately, a lot of us, since we work in rural healthcare, we have a decent drive home. We've got a bit of time that we can unwind, call a friend, let it out.
And there are mornings where even if nothing super eventful has happened, I will sit in my truck when I pull in the driveway. If my kids aren't relying upon me, if they're taken care of at school or the sitters, I will sit in my truck and I'll sit with my thoughts. I'm not afraid of them.
Yeah.
Face who you are, face the process. Be aware that there are things out there that will try to sway you from becoming the better version of yourself.
Yeah.
But know in the end that if you're confident in who you are and what you do as a person and in your profession, there's nothing to bring home with you.
Yeah. Well, something like one of my worst days, this is like what I have done that I found to be helpful, cathartic, whatever you want to call it. Like the worst days that I've ever had. Shout out to Tree 63. This is a Christian rock band, I suppose, at the time. Who knows if they're still in existence?
Hey, Christian rock bands are some of the best.
They're jams,
Shout out to Under Oath.
But blessed be your name. I will belt that out on my way home, through some tears. And I'm not I might be a sympathetic crier, but most of the time I try to bottle that crap up. Some stuff ought to be bottled up and nobody needs to know about it. It's okay sometimes.
Yeah, and keep the times that your tears are limited or to your own actions to a minimum.
Yeah,
try to make your own self be the source of your tears. Don't do anything that you wouldn't approve of. Mm-hmm. Don't.
Well, my favorite way to look at that is if you were reading the story of your life, a very descriptive story of your life, like almost like a screenplay, like, and then Leo got up and went to the bathroom, like that type of descriptive.
Chris got up and took a pee break.
Would you want to read what is about to happen if you were to play it back? Like, you're the hero of your own story. Do you want to read what's going to happen? Or like when you read what's going to happen, are you going to like cheer on the protagonist, or are you going to be disappointed?
And are you still going to support the hero when he's done? What happens to Superman, when he decides it's time for retirement? Does he have an expiration date?
Well, I think
Is there ever a
Superman's
time to
that's
let
an
them-
unfair deal, cuz Superman's like an alien for one.
Superman is the embodiment of who we all want to
Ubermensch.
try to be. We all want to be the guy that can help in any situation. We all want to be the guy or girl that can be the one that you turn to in times of crisis.
Yeah.
I think that's what we all want to do. We all want to
want to be that
alleviate
guy.
the immediate crisis and make you okay.
Yeah.
Are we living that because we've had trauma in the past that we're trying to heal, or are we living that because of a greater good that we're being influenced by the hands of the Creator, or something more poignant?
Yeah. Well, it can't be. You can't want to be that person, whether a man or a woman. You can't be the one that wants to be the savior of the moment from an egotistical standpoint, because you will always fail if you are coming into it.
Yeah, you'll come up short every time.
Every time. Like, and you've got to draw that strength from somewhere else. I'm a very, people will like, I've seen this recently, like, oh, you're only you're a weak human being because you rely on the strength of a creator and God. Like, you're that weak that you need some, guy in the sky that takes care of you. He's like, well, hell yeah, I do.
Right. I'm sorry. Are you all knowing and
all
powerful and can fix anything?
And created everything? Like, no, I recognize my littleness.
Understand that you can't understand yourself. You're of a greater.
I'm a
consciousness
disaster.
than that. Yeah, we're Rex.
Yeah. All right, let's get to. This is hard. Sorry, that was a random one. Don't really know where it was going. How long can you last in the tub? He didn't even try.
No, I will gleefully admit that I would give it the best 30 seconds of my life.
Once you hit 30 seconds, it's all good.
I don't know.
He didn't want to do it before the episode.
I feel like it would have helped my vitals.
It might have.
Yeah, maybe.
How did you end up in EMS after your different careers? Well, it sounds like you kind of were in EMS from the get-go.
Well, to touch on it a little bit more, I came from a family that there was quite a few of my family members that were law enforcement.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't particularly want to go that route. And like I said, when I had that car accident, I was like kind of really interested in the medical side because firefighting, ultimately, you have the goal is put the fire out.
Mm-hmm.
Medical stuff, you don't always know the answer. And you're not always going to find out the answer.
Yeah.
And you have to rely on yourself to, like, in the moment, play by play, fix that problem to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
It's not always put the fire out. It could be, hold the hand of your elderly patient. It could be administer life-saving drugs, and anywhere in between.
Yeah. Or it might just be dropping off the toe pain.
Dropping off the toe pain, getting that Southside sandwich.
That's right. What is the best and worst part of being married to a badass?
Oh,
you don't have to answer this one.
No, I will.
Tell me the best. We don't need to. We are not going to air out anybody's.
So I told you we touched on my confidence and what it takes to be a good provider and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time when I had to give my rock star spouse an IV. And my hands have never shaken so much in my entire life.
Did you just hand her the needle and be like, here, do this?
I wanted to, but, I felt like this is a proving moment where I can really...
I'm going to be the hero.
Yeah, I can be the hero.
Yeah.
Well, I did it. I was successcul. I stick.
On first try?
First try. It was AC.
Dude,
It was beautiful.
I use the ultrasound when I know the person just because I'm like, I'm not gonna screw this up.
I've heard you are the ultrasound, guru. Oh, yes.
Now everybody knows.
He's
I wish I could teach people though. Like
in frequencies.
I am not good at teaching. Like I will be the first to admit. Like yeah, you can. I'll show you what I know, but
I think with peripheral IV access, it's a muscle memory type feel thing.
yeah,
Like
every now and then I do it.
I've heard people that like, oh, you can feel the moment the catheter enters the vein. You can feel the pop. I'm like, you know what? That's great. No, I can't.
I feel it, and I feel it even when I'm using the ultrasound. I feel the pop, and then I look like back and I'm like, okay, I got blood return. Sometimes I just know based on what I felt, and I ask the patient like, pain's gone, right? They're like, yeah.
Just like someone who can smell ketones.
Dude, I don't even know.
I'm not that
I'm not that
skilled.
guy.
But going back to the question, because I would like to say
That your wife is the best?
It's so cool, too, because people tell me stories about her.
She's awesome, man.
Like, when I'm not even there, because I work at I don't work at I work in conjunction with the same facility where my wife works, and I get to sometimes do patient handoff to her. And it's really intimidating. But that's like ultimately the thing that attracted me to her in the first place was
she did not avoid the 3 Ps.
Oh, I forgot. Policemen,
paramedics,
and
firefighters.
Yeah, no, she fell victim to the many blunders that EMS.
That's right. That's right. Let's see what else we got. All right. The questions are probably going to get harder. Let's see. Let me see if I got any more cherry picked ones.
Any starred ones.
Yeah, I think. What is your philosophy for life? So
this is easy, actually. You ready? What are you gonna do?
Well, if like, what do you adhere to as a code for life, and how does that tie into living a virtuous life?
No matter what you're doing, do better.
That's it?
That's it. There's always room for improvement. You're not as good as you think you are. Always allow yourself to be humbled. Learn something. Just do better.
That's awesome.
As good as you're doing.
So, like, I'm going to start paying you to be my life coach.
Well, that's why I had to laugh when you offered your services. Like, no, I've got it figured out.
Yeah.
I think I'm...
Okay, I did not offer services. You came to me.
Yeah, those were my words.
We were in the EMS room. I was getting a drug box.
I will agree with that. We were discussing Leo's services. But no.
You make it sound really inappropriate.
Oh. You have a servant's heart, don't you? But no, I'm happy.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think that's it. Like there's always room for improvement, and I think like up there, humility is one of the virtues that I think is undervalued, because there's this. I know I've irritated people lately because like words mean things. Like in the beginning was the word, and if the word was like.
It was good.
So, like, if words mean stuff, this was one of my, like, this dude was, like, prior Delta, like, Ranger, Delta, like, super duper smoke and mirrors guy. Probably has a gun behind every, like, picture frame in his house.
And it's probably a really awesome gun, too.
He's an awesome guy.
Yeah.
But he taught me, like, it's the confirmation class, which is the last class you take in your like Sunday school process.
Was it the Eucharist?
I mean, that's like
something.
The Eucharist. It was a word that was used for sure, but the Eucharist is the little like wafer thing.
I thought that was like the whole class was like considered taking the Eucharist.
No, taking the Eucharist is like the word is Greek for Thanksgiving, I believe, but it's when like this is my body. Like that's the Eucharist is Jesus' present body, blood, soul, and divinity in that little piece of bread. It's a mystery. But anyways, this guy, very formative guy in like my life, and one of his deals was, dang it, you done thrown me off. I don't even know where I am. You started talking about the Eucharist, and I'm like, all right, let's go down the religious path.
I have a way of doing. Don't listen to me. I will get you off track.
Yeah. But, oh, man.
Lost it?
I lost it. Dang it. Thank you, Jameson.
Yeah. You're cut off, sir.
Well, I've cut myself off after the last one. But, like, with humility, we live in this world where this is what it was. I'm annoying. I know this about me, especially when it comes to the use of words. Like, words mean things. That was the thing. He always used to say words mean things, and it is stuck. My siblings know this because they went through the same class. Words mean things. And the bam target hit gunner sees fire, that was a hymn line for sure.
Yeah.
But, we live in such a strange time where there's a really good book called Abusive Language, Abusive Power. And if we take words and manipulate them to suit our need or our use for them, then we hold the power. And you could, lots of people have agendas, and they're going to manipulate words for their purposes. So
Sometimes I'll start a sentence, and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way.
Get it back on track.
Man, I'm struggling so hard.
Seriously cut off.
I know. Seriously. No, I generally
add
like
beers to this.
No, I just generally don't.
All right, well, that must be more
ADD.
Rambling. So,
Thank you.
Next question.
Thank you for saving me from my own stupidity.
No, not stupidity. It's our attempts to
Sound smarter than we are.
to be smarter than we are. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the way it goes. Perhaps I could have been more
that's
temperate.
That's the mindset of an EMT basic when we're going in and speaking to our Kevin Sullivans and shout outs there. But I'll go in to give report and try to sound halfway intelligent to this uber smart man, and he'll still make me feel like I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Generally,
and I love it.
Well, that's the point of being humble. Like, yeah, I will start a train of thought, not knowing where, very Michael Scottish. I start this, and I don't know where I'm going. I just hope I land in the right spot. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I do think we need to be humble enough to say, hey, I don't know the answer. And this, in healthcare, if you are not willing to say, I don't have the answer, let me seek wisdom from somebody else. Mm-hmm. We are sorely outgunned because, like, patients, they need all sorts of things that we don't have the answer to.
Well, they're starting to, at least, because they're starting to come to seek emergency guidance for things that aren't so emergent in nature. Indeed. So we kind of have to broaden our spectrum.
Yeah, 100%. All right. You already answered this one too. What's it like when you're EMS and married to nursing, especially when you bring patients to your wife? The ER is packed. Does she cut you any slack?
Oh, that's actually fun.
I couldn't imagine who sent this question.
No, she cuts me zero slack. If not,
I've witnessed this.
If not
actually.
anything, the handoff is more anxiety ridden for me anyway, because I feel like she's judging me based off of my handoff report and off of what I'm actually giving her. Like, babe, I can't. It's kind of rough because I'm a very handsy on my woman guy. I want to give her hugs and kisses, and it's not really professional to do that in the ER in front of your patient.
It is your wife.
It is.
Let's be clear.
But I don't really think patients give a crap, so you got to keep that
It's
dialed
not
in.
like you're bending her over your knee and giving her a long romantic kiss.
Yeah, but they're having the quote unquote worst day of their life. The last thing they want to know is,
I have never seen you give your wife a hug in the ER in a patient's room.
It's always in the nurse's station.
Exactly.
It's like a side hug.
It's
like,
yeah.
Hey babe,
Yeah, it's that.
Yeah, so. But no, she's super professional. She's super intimidating.
I was gonna say she is super intimidating.
She
hired me, man.
Right. She's probably the best. Not stepping on any lab workers' toes. She's probably the best stick in the whole hospital as far as IVs go. You use a ultrasound, right?
Are you saying I'm cheating?
I'm just saying maybe a little bit.
You use the tools that you have available to you.
She doesn't use one at all because, maybe
So every now and then I've had to start getting IVs without using the ultrasound because people start talking this trash.
Start to develop a complex over it a little bit.
Well, they're like, oh, Leo's only good with this machine. Look, man, if Ashley wants to be John Henry, I'll be the machine that beats John Henry.
I'm just saying, I didn't know.
I'm kidding, Ashley. I love you. Please don't hurt me.
This goes to all the good IV techs in the world. I didn't know there was as many places to get IVs as some of these places people stick patients. You know, like they're getting.
Who doesn't love a good boob vein, man?
Not to mention a subclavian, but if you like finger sticks, and I'm just like, I would have never, ever in my wildest dreams attempted to pursue that pre-hospital.
You're just like, I missed the AC. Let me
try. I'm gonna drill them now. I've missed the AC. I must drill.
Yeah. I don't have any more questions. What else you got, man?
Well, I think that the Jameson hasn't run dry.
Oh,
but
thank goodness for that.
The glass has run dry, so I think we're at a good stopping point.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
You don't have anything else like? So what? This is one last question that I had. So you may kind of have answered it, but what is the true north to the moral compass of Chris Andrews?
Ooh. Yeah, I think that goes back to doing better. True north. There's always a purpose in life that is not centered around yourself. Don't get lost in your own head. Don't get lost in your own pleasures. Always seek out the opportunity to provide help to those in need and solace to those who seek it. And just do better.
So it is the same question.
Yeah.
Same answer, I suppose. I think so. I mean, coming from like
I love how I just poured a whole nother glass. Like I'm going to stay here and drink it on the air.
Just you sitting.
Okay, first of all, it's not a whole glass. It's just like another finger. But, yeah, like true north, be a better person. Like the world is full enough of people that will do you harm.
Yeah.
Be the person that you'd like to find in your moment.
It's like a Gandhi thing, right? Like be the change you want to see in the world.
Oh man, that's a heavy one.
But that's it, right? That's the quote. Be the changes you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
What's funny about stuff like that is these quotes that are like, oh, it's so like catchy and
so stoic
cliche
and you know on motivational posters. It's the things, and that's one of the things that I've recently come into is studying actual stoicism and what it means to be stoic, and that's why these phrases are so catchy.
Well, there's wisdom to it.
It was even Julius Caesar that hired the guy to follow him around and say, "You're only a man." It's people that keep us in check. It's people that make us aware of our own shortcomings, our fallacies as men, our fallacies as leaders. There are things that we can learn at every opportunity. So, maybe that's the goal of what to do when you have reached your pinnacle, your peak, is what can you do for the next person in line.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, talking about legacy, you know, we don't have, you know, I don't have a personal business that I could pass on to my children. I don't have
passion, you know.
Yeah, like what I do have to give is
loyalty. I could think of so many adjectives that you embody, and you know, I'm not trying to get too personal, but man, you're a great guy. That you put forth a great example. You're a great father. You're a great practitioner of your craft. You know, you're doing the right thing. You're on the right track. If someone has got to play the role, you fit the part so very well.
Hopefully the part that I got to play is good.
This is a good place to start. Conversations need to be had. Conversations are wanted. You know.
Yeah.
They flourish in the candidness of our own personal endeavors.
Well, that's one of the reasons that I started doing this podcast is like, so we all have our sphere of influence, and it's only so broad. You know, we all have podcasts or somebody that we listen to, some influencer that we follow. If I were to send you something that came from somebody else that you didn't know, somebody that you didn't follow, you might not listen to it. But if I send somebody this episode right here and they know you, they might think that I'm a dork, which they would be correct.
Or they would know that I'm a dork.
Oh, I mean, if it's big enough, it counts. Anyway, sorry.
There's knowledge to be had everywhere.
But you might not seek it in the places that I seek it. And if I can have you on a show and then we can share it to people because, hey, maybe there was something, some good that was found here. They'll listen to it because it was Chris Andrews that told them.
Or Leo Barber that hosted
Doubtful.
the podcast.
Well, this is why I got to get good people to interview. But if I can spread it, my sphere of influence is only so great. And if I can share the wisdom that I have come about from a very personal perspective, people might be more inclined to listen, which is, something to pass along. Maybe my kids will listen to this at some point. My wife probably won't.
Oh, come on. She's waiting up there right now just to hear the fruits of your labor.
She's waiting up the stairs right now just to hear me walk up and be like, I got the kids. No, which is fair. Like,
that was the equivalent phrase that when we had young boys growing up was, how did y'all have a baby monitor in the house? So Ashley always used to be tethered to the baby monitor because I was always be napping after a 24 or something. So like the sexiest phrase I could ever say to her was, "Baby, I've got the monitor." And she would know that it was just time for her to relax, or where she could relax because I was watching the kids for a second. So, oh man, I get it. But man, I really do appreciate the time here. It's been a great time getting through this half a fifth almost.
No, good heavens. I had 2?
No, he had like 6. I counted
6. That's right.
I'm judging him
for sure. If not modeled temperance here. No, no, it is a fun time to be had, and I if anybody I don't know who's the next person that we should have on here.
Oh,
dude, what questions do you have?
I'm.
Gosh.
You mentioned a practitioner, Dr. Voth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have my own personal story about him doing my first ever witness precordial thump.
What?
Yeah, I was a brand new basic, had never witnessed this before, and he did this auditance in the ER in Lynchburg General, Major Bay 3, and I about had a freaking heart attack because he just basically assaulted this dude in the chest, and I had no idea what was going on.
Did it work?
No, yeah, absolutely it did. Absolutely it did. And to my very impressionable self at the time, he's still my current hero.
Nice.
Like, if you could get him on, that'd be really cool.
I don't know if I can get him. I did a precordial thump once, but it worked.
Right.
Quotations. I don't think the person was actually coding in hindsight because they came back way too quick. But yeah. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
I brought in this guy who I was pretty sure was daggone near deceased.
He was dead.
He just looked at the monitor real seriously and looked like he was timing something just right, and wham! Just mid sternum. And like I said, I had a moment where I wasn't sure what was going on. If I needed to contact,
APS, I guess.
APS or something.
DPS.
But no, we have such a good array of local talent. I don't even need to speak about the practitioners like they're, but gosh, there's so many cool people around.
We have a load of awesome people.
Maybe you should contact Dr. Sullivan.
It's a long drive. I don't know if
Ashley probably has a lot of cool stories to tell.
I'm
my
for
wife,
sure getting Ashley on here.
Yeah, she probably tries to make more like she's not the hero and awesome heroine that she is.
Yeah,
but she's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it was a good start having me on the show. I feel like that will broaden your listener base.
Yeah, right.
Have people realize, oh, he's all about the cool people too.
I mean, look,
I am nowhere near as smart as the talent that you will have on this show.
Hey, man, we'll have to get you back on.
If only if you get more Jameson.
I mean, look.
Hashtag Jameson.
Yeah.
Support Jameson.
Right. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything else that I got to add. I probably should get up and
take care of your. We were talking about duties as fathers, and I think yours are starting to tread.
You can
across
hear them.
The floor. Yes,
you can.
I'm the pitter patter of little feet is like the greatest thing in the world.
It is. Well, one thing towards the how do you leave it at work kind of idea. This was recently somebody shared it with me, but when you're dealing with some sort of mess of a shift, like you said, just sit in your truck and, kind of process it. But it's a silly thing, but we are external positions reflect our internal disposition. So something that I do, in addition to like, belting out Blessed Be Your Name by Tree 63, before I get out of my vehicle, and I also big fan of silence in your car ride to and from work, but almost like pulling on your head. Like, this sounds silly, but like essentially taking something near your ear, almost like you've seen Harry Potter where the guy like pulls a thought out of his head and like puts it in the pensieve or whatever. I don't remember the word, but basically,
surprised you've seen Harry Potter.
Yeah. I have my reservations about Harry Potter, but essentially, like, it's a physical act where you almost imagine yourself plucking something out of your head and just putting it down, like setting it maybe in the back of your truck bed, throwing it away, putting in a cup, like whatever the thing might be, where we do a physical action that is representative of some sort of internal disposition. I think that's super helpful. I mean, I'm Catholic. Like, we're all about the smells, bells, and whistles. Like, whether it's incense or bells, literally, or you were raised Catholic, I think. Like
I was born to a Catholic family I was raised Baptist. It's a weird existence.
I mean, there's a lot of people that sounds probably more like it. We'll have to do another episode where we talk religion.
Ooh, that's a long
It'll be
episode
fun
right there. Yeah,
it will. A couple thousands of years of history that we could try to drum up, but where we do these external actions to represent our internal disposition is super helpful, because like we're body soul composites. Like the mental, emotional, and physical and spiritual all exist within this corporal being that we have.
This understanding of the realm that we
use
so
big
embody.
words.
Yeah.
Sound smart.
Right? It's like I'm talking to a doctor.
Not me. But you do these things where you can set it aside, and it's silly, but I have found that it is helpful.
Oh yeah, and anything that makes sense to you, anything that makes it better, anything that even in the moment you can justify as something that makes you feel good. And I don't know how that does as a Catholic.
I would say
because there are limitations.
Yeah, okay. I was going to push back on this.
Okay, so within an ethical
framework,
boundary,
I suppose.
Right.
Yeah, because like the means, the end does not justify the means.
The means.
So like if I were to,
I would understand. I want people to understand the power that they have in themselves to control their current situation. Like, I know sometimes when you may think that things are as just as dark and grim as they could possibly be, you can make it better.
We always have the power to make a situation better. And it's an attitude of gratitude. I have found this in almost every situation is find that silver lining. And it sounds like it's irritatingly cliche, but like it's just the little things.
It's all about the attitude.
Always in the little things.
It really
and
is.
if you can find like, hey, I just picked the brains out of a guy who wrecked his vehicle. He fell asleep.
That's cool and all, but that song that you've been dwelling on for the past 3 days? Listen to it 78 times on repeat in your car by yourself at home alone, and I guarantee you that'll make you feel so much better. Yeah, dude, what do you think my truck time consists of? I will obsess over a certain something and hold it tangible.
I can't tell if you're being serious or
no,
not.
absolutely I'm being serious.
78 times?
78 times on repeat. I don't care. I don't want to be around anyone because I don't want anyone to judge me about listening to that same song.
It's because it's
78
Avril
times
Lavigne.
on yeah, it is. Yes, it absolutely is Avril Lavigne.
Yeah, right. It's
but you
Taylor
know what? It's
Swift.
hard being a skater boy. So, you know what? Do what you have to do. No one is going to see your tears in private. No one's going to think any less of you. No one's going to judge you.
Yeah.
All right.
So long as you're operating like you said within that framework of the ends don't justify the means. So if you're like, hey, I got to deal with this by drinking this whole bottle of Jameson myself in my car, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Call Chris.
Call me. Yeah. At Blues Griller, or find me on Facebook.
That's right.
Link to this podcast.
That's
by
right.
Leo Barber.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We will get to an episode with religion, politics, all sorts of things, aliens, whatever you want to talk about.
Oh, conspiracy theories. I was thinking on the way over here, we are close enough to where I was like, you know what?
You'd be a regular contributor.
A good drone, I could like really give you some footage to work with over the next conspiracy video of drone footage in the area. I could tape streamers to the thing. We could fly it across your backyard. We could totally come up with the next big video that goes viral. I'm ready for this.
Good.
Yeah.
We'll have to do it. All right, man. We gotta cut this.
Go be a dad.
That's right.
It's been great.
Hey, man. Thank you for coming out.
Me. Absolutely, dude.
Oh man, what a fun guy, isn't it?